that order seems to not be the order anymore. We are on the way to a new order, so we are between orders. Do you agree with that, or are there ways of what are we able to keep on the positive side from the old order to bring into a new world order, and how can we avoid that new world order becomes like a jungle growing back, and we rather have an order based on international law and the principles that have brought us prosperity and freedom for decades?
I think that it's really a fulfillment of a dream that we had together with my leadership team when we started in 19. The first week we met in January of 19 in California, and to set up the goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was by 2023, we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%.
We will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%.
I think today this dream is becoming reality.
There is a storm coming like nothing you have ever seen, and not a one of you is prepared for it.
AI is a brilliant tool for people to be more productive. Now, it means the bad guys will be more productive, so they can do more cyber attacks, so they can design weapons. You know, the internet, the microprocessor, all these things helped everybody be more efficient, including the bad guys. And so you've got to make sure the best AI for cyber defense or measures to defend against bioterrorism are in the hand of the good guys. And it's a challenge, but
a turma chaya no cambarro anuri no camai no camwaka na anuri no yuiwa na warro chinavo panque tu chinan chaval aqui chinamo kikirani tsai chavakirani tsai makikirani awama wanana no mau no wai sharai.
Like, dude, this guy is the fucking enemy. You want to look at the fucking enemy to our world? It's that motherfucker right there.
So far, every technology we've come up with, we've managed to keep them under control. And so the idea that there's a lot of talk, getting government people to understand AI, could it be something where it's almost too addictive to sit there and talk to it? What should the guidelines be? The AI makes it easier to generate information. It underscores the need to say, okay, what's the good part of social media and what's the part either for young people or misinformation.
And like the scariest part about Bill Gates is that he's just got this big goofy smile on his face, this evil smirk, like he's just so excited to be talking about the end of the world. Just so excited to talk about cyber attacks.
AI can be used for cyber attacks.
AI created super pandemics and
can be used to design a bioterrorism weapon.
It's like these motherfuckers create the problem and then they create the solution. And the solution is always more government. It's always, hey, we created this disease, here's the vaccine. You may or may not get a blood clot and die. Who knows? It's just bad genetics, okay? People under the age of 35 die suddenly, all of a sudden.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
You understand me?
As we start 2024, the biggest electoral year in history, democracies across the world will head to the polls, and half of the global population will be affected. For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate.
It is disinformation and misinformation.
Disinformation and misinformation.
But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. If you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, I don't know, global government or whatever.
Trump versus Biden contest, do you think it's more likely now, from what we know and the polling that we're seeing, that Trump might prevail?
It's very close. Remember, Biden won last time by 7 million votes. My guess is he'll win by 9 million votes this time. My guess is he'll win by 9 million votes this time.
I would make a $50,000 to $100,000 bet. Sometime between now and August, there is some event that we like, wow, a COVID-19, 9/11 type event.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack.
Prepare now, as in the last 24 hours, the threat of a potential cyber attack against the United States.
I can say I believe that 2024 is going to be, in some ways, like nothing we've ever seen.
A few shadows, but they were solid at the same time, and it almost looked like they was coming our direction, like they was chasing us, but they was disappearing and reappearing.
Why would an ex-president and his wife produce something like this as if they know something is happening, right? It's basically a film about a cyber attack. The son was wearing an Obey shirt, the daughter had a NASA shirt.
According to reports, 2024 will be the toughest year on record for millions and millions of Americans.
But I mean, the question is, what do they know that we don't know, right? I mean, they're building these underground apologies. Is this just a natural human nature towards thinking that these are the end times?
2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict.
AI is a brilliant tool for people to be more productive. It means the bad guys will be more productive, so they can do more cyber attacks, so they can design weapons. You always, the internet, the microprocessor, all these things helped everybody be more efficient, including the bad guys.
And so you've got to make sure the best AI
for cyber defense or, measures to defend against bioterrorism
are in the hand of the good guys.
And, it's a challenge, but, people sometimes lose sight of the fact that...
My name is Montague William III. And what I will tell you may well sound absurd, but the less who believe it, the better for me. For many a year we have controlled your lives, while you all just struggle and suffer in strife. We control the money that controls your lives. Whilst you worship false idols and wouldn't think twice about selling your souls for a place in the sun, these things that won't matter when your time is done. But the smile on my face, well, it makes me exempt. For I have the weapon of global TV, which gives us connection and invites empathy. You would really believe that we look out for you, while we bankers and brokers are only a few. But if you saw that, you'd take back the power. Hence, daily terrors to make you all cower. The panics, the crashes, the wars, and the illness that keep you from finding your spiritual wholeness. We rig the game, and we buy out both sides to keep you enslaved in your pitiful lives. So, go out and work as your body clock fades. And when it's all over, a few years from the grave, you'll look back on all this, and just then you'll see that your life was nothing, a mere fantasy. For real power resides in the hands of a few. You voted for parties. What more could you do? But what you don't know is they're one and the same. Old Gordon has passed good old David the reins, and you'll follow the leader who was put there by you. But you simply don't see it's all part of the game. Another distraction, like money and fame. Get ready for wars in the name of the free, vaccinations for illness that will never be, the assault on your children's impressionable minds, and a microchipped world. You'll put up no fight. Information suppression will keep you in tone. Depopulation of peasants was always our goal. Oh yeah, it was us that funded Nazis. But as long as we own all the media too, what's really happening does not concern you. So just go on watching your plasma TV, and the world will be run by the ones you can't see.
just wish I was still in my 20s, right? The next couple of decades are going to be absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I can see exponential face now.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good, Klaus. You know,
so good, Klaus. You know,
right? You know, how old are you? You and I need to find a way to get younger because it's going to be a thrilling few decades.
We keep young. We keep young. You see.
You and I need to find a way to get younger because it's going to be a thrilling few decades.
We keep young. We keep young. You see.
Scientists may have found a real fountain of youth.
The fountain of youth, and it is young blood.
That may hold promise, but at a price.
We're receiving young blood from healthy volunteers.
Adrenochrome. Going to be so good, Klaus.
We keep young. We keep young. We keep.
It's going to be a.
You seem to have a genuine interest in this subject.
Yeah,
I'm sensing clearly that you're having some reservations.
Listen, I gotta have a word with you. We've asked this young man to come to us and give us information.
Right.
I don't want you to be a block in the wall.
I'm not gonna be blocking the
You
wall.
are being one right now.
I want to figure
You
it out.
hear me? Listen to
I'm
me.
gonna figure it out. Just calm down. I'm gonna figure it out.
I'm not kidding.
I'm not kidding either.
I want you to straighten up and listen to this
I'm
man.
gonna
Don't
listen to
give
him,
him
yeah.
obstacles.
Hey, I'd rather not talk about it. Hi, kids. Hi, kids. Hi, kids. Hi, kids. And of course, looking back and saying, okay, we made some mistakes. You know, what did we learn? What would we do next time? There's not enough of that happening.
And what do you think needs to be done then on that front?
Well, I wrote a book in order to push on this. I'd say I've learned a lot since then. We need to invent new tools. You know, our vaccine doesn't last long enough. It doesn't provide broad enough protection. It doesn't block infection. It's a miracle in terms of preventing severe disease, but it doesn't provide broad enough protection. It doesn't block infection. It's a miracle in terms of preventing severe disease, but you know, we didn't get it as soon as we'd wanted to. Well, sadly, the fact that the pandemic raised a lot of misinformation about vaccine and increased vaccine hesitancy. That's not just in the United States. You know, vaccines are phenomenal. You have to work to build trust in that, because it's kind of not intuitive that you stick a metal needle in a child's arm, they cry.
That you stick a metal needle in a child's arm, they cry, and that's the most important thing.
There are pockets, and significant pockets, of the country where vaccines aren't happening because of those, you know, the anti-vaxxers, or whatever you want to call them, who have made significant headway in trying to convince parents they shouldn't vaccinate children. I was just looking at new data today from Orange County, California, with more than a few schools showing between 40 and 60% children not vaccinated.
You could say this is we're a victim of success. In the countries where you have measles all the time, nobody gets confused about this.
Do you get mad about it?
I get more mad about the deaths we're not avoiding. I spend my time on the countries where you still have, in the case of measles, over 300,000 kids dying a year. In the case of diarrheal diseases, over 1 million a year. There's 6 million kids a year still dying.
6 million kids a year still dying.
Why aren't we getting vaccines out in Africa for diarrhea, for respiratory disease? Why don't we have a vaccine for malaria? Those are the things that I push forward. I wouldn't say I get angry, but I'm really impatient that we're not moving as fast as I'd like.
Well, holy shit. Can you believe it's already been 1 year since my very first New World Order video? Neither can I, but it has been. Wow, time sure does fly. Is that makeup? Yes. Sorry, I had to check on my pregnant wife. But it is that time of year. Fuck me. Fuck! Oh, fuck you. But it is that
And let me just tell you, I love Gen Z. I don't know if something, I love Gen Z.
But it is that time of year, once again, ladies and gentlemen, where these cold-blooded, eyeball-licking, scaly-skinned, child-fucking reptilians get together and tell you how they're going to kill you. How they're going to end the world. I mean, control the world, rule the world. These lizard people just come out and fucking say it. They tell you how they're going to control your lives.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
Violence. I think that, it's more or less because...
What did he just say?
Wow.
Individual carbon footprint tracker.
What the fuck just happened?
The interview's over. Shut it off.
No,
shut it off.
Get the fuck out of here, Daryl.
I am Marshall's publicist, and I'm telling you to pull a fucking plug right now.
This is gold. I am not cutting this interview off. This is the best interview we've ever done.
I'm about to do this.
But it's for the better of humanity. It's to help you. It's not to
kill you. These vaccines weren't meant to kill you. You just...
You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots.
There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure, and many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
Okay, the point is the microchips have already been implanted through the vaccine, so you're already under our control.
Just kidding. That was a lie. YouTube. I'm kidding. It was a joke. That's misinformation. I'm aware. Or is it? I don't know. No.
Within that list of more specific risks, we have in the 2-year time frame mis and disinformation as the #1 risk, followed by extreme weather, followed by societal polarization, interstate armed conflict. That's the top 5 in the 2-year outlook, very closely followed by lack of economic opportunity, inflation, involuntary migration, and economic downturn and pollution. So a mix across all 5 types of risks, but very much driven by these concerns around what's happening in our societies due to mis and disinformation.
Real quick, just want to make an announcement. I would never kill myself unless YouTube strikes this video and deletes this channel. Because if you do that, YouTube, I'm going to kill myself on camera.
I don't think he did it. But you know what? Even if he did do it, you know what I mean?
It's fine. I'm demonetized. Doesn't fucking matter anyway. Stupid cunts.
The smug, condescending way that he just spews this poison out is very, very dangerous because he won't stop.
However, we're not here to talk about my suicide. We're here to talk about... I'm just kidding. You should talk to somebody if you really want to kill yourself. I mean, like, what if you talk to the wrong person and they're like, just do it? But hey, that's not the point. The point is, we're here to talk about the New World Order. And today we're going all the way to Davos, Switzerland, so we can hear what our unelected global leaders, overlords, have to say. You see, Davos, Switzerland holds an annual World Economic Forum where...
So here's something interesting. The largest, most influential socioeconomic and strategic global forum in the world meets this week in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. 100+ governments, presidents, ministers, and global leaders will be present right here in Davos. 1,000+ companies, captains of global industry, NGOs, activists, and anyone concerned about influencing the direction of the world's agenda will be here.
The global elites from around the world come together and basically lay it out for you. Because it's part of their code. They have to tell you what's going on before they do something. It's like a karma thing. It balances out their karma, I guess. Well, that's what they think anyway. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I tell someone that I'm going to kill them and then I do, that doesn't X out the karma. It's still bad karma. So I don't understand their logic, but Satanists, you know.
They're a lot of fun.
Anyways, so our global overlords have no problem at all telling you how they're going to take control. Bill Gates just comes out and says it. You know, AI can now develop pandemics. It can develop all kinds of pandemics and cyber attacks. I mean, I got this feeling in my gut that something is fucking coming. And when I mean something, I don't mean like Boston bombing. I mean like fucking 9/11. Disastrous. I can't be the only person who feels this in their bones. I feel it in my fucking bones. I feel something really bad is right around the corner. Now, maybe I've been, you know, watching too much news.
I am a Jew.
Before you do something stupid, you may want to think about this shit. What are you talking about?
But I don't buy into the news, because that's just propaganda.
I know.
It doesn't matter what news outlet, except DarthNews. It's all bullshit. Don't believe the lies. Kill mainstream media.
Anthony Fauci now admitting social distancing wasn't based on science. Fauci telling a House committee this week the idea, standing 6 feet apart, quote, just sort of appeared.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people, where in circumstances where there are crowds, you remove yourself from very close contact.
Although COVID came immediately, we were preparing for COVID-like disease. You may even call COVID as the first disease X. And it may happen again.
But the point is,
we are entering a decade of division, where 5 top billionaires have doubled their wealth, but on the other hand, 5 billion people collectively have become poorer. And Oxfam is estimating that within just a decade, we'll have a trillionaire amongst us. But on the other hand, it'll take more than 200 years to end poverty. This is an era of billionaire supremacy, where they're dodging taxes, they're underpaying taxes, they're squeezing workers, they're privatizing public services, and plundering the planet Earth. I certainly feel angry. You know, I would say having billionaires is a failure. Very often when we are here at the World Economic Forum, you end up celebrating billionaires. But I think it's a sign of failure that we have 800 million people, 10% of the global population, sleeping hungry. They do not have enough food to eat. 800 million people. And on the other hand, you have these billionaires with their private yachts, private jets, and a lifestyle which cannot even be understood.
Hi, kid.
All of the bad news aside,
Shat myself in front of the gang.
I've been feeling this rumbling for years. There's been a storm brewing. And we've just felt the pre-tremors before the big one hits. I'm not trying to be like, you know, a fearmonger or like a doomsdayer, but
I'm not going to say it.
Now, for nearly 80 years, scientists have indicated how close the world is to global catastrophe using something called the doomsday clock. The idea began to warn humanity of the dangers of nuclear war, with midnight marking the theoretical point of annihilation. Our reporter Jane Corbin has more.
In 2023, the hands were set at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest they've ever been, in large part because of Russia's war in Ukraine.
This is a very dangerous time. We have moved from a period where nuclear weapons were considered unusable. We're seeming to move into a period of time where we're not so sure every major country, UK included, is investing in their nuclear arsenal.
But nevertheless, no nuclear weapon has been used for 70, 80 years. People would say, isn't this scaremongering? But there's no way we're moving towards that again.
People would be wrong to say there's no way we're moving towards that again.
The kind of dangers that draw people's attention, like the poster child of AI dangers, is things like AI creating a new virus that kills billions of people, a new pandemic. So you have a lot of people concerned about how do we prevent an AI by itself, or maybe some small terrorist organization, or even a 16-year-old teenager given an AI a task to create a dangerous virus and release it to the world. How do we prevent this? And this is a serious concern, and we should be concerned about it. But this gets a lot more attention than the question, how do we prevent the financial system from becoming so complicated that humans can no longer understand it? And I see a lot of regulations being at least considered how to prevent AI from creating dangerous new viruses.
World leaders gathering in Davos, Switzerland this week are going to discuss Disease X, a hypothetical virus 20 times deadlier than COVID-19. COVID-19 has killed almost 7 million people worldwide. What would a virus 20 times deadlier be like? And is that a possibility that we could see in our lifetime?
It's definitely a possibility.
Now, I want to talk now about Disease X, which is on this website here. This is the World Economic Forum site as far as I can derive. Disease X, this is how we should prepare for the next big virus.
Breaking news coming out in the past 48 hours that the next pandemic is already on the way. And they're saying this is Disease X that could kill up to 50 million people. They're saying that the death toll could easily dwarf that of what we experience with COVID-19.
You should prepare. You all should be preparing. Anyways.
See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass. I'll do it. I will eat your ass.
So let's get to the video. I don't want to be chit-chatting for the whole thing. I usually don't do a whole lot of talking, if ever, during these New World Order videos, but I felt it, I don't know, nostalgic to speak on the matter, because it has been officially 1 year ago today that I posted my very first New World Order video, and it was on the World Economic Forum. You see, I've heard about these lizard pedophiles in Davos, Switzerland for some time now, but it wasn't until last year that I actually took a second and absorbed the information that they were putting out there, and it was horrifying. I mean, the dystopian nightmare that is the vision of the World Economic Forum will be the fall of humanity. It will be the complete and total enslavement of humanity. We think like they just say these crazy things at these global meetings just to be provocative, to make people just talk about it for clicks. Bill Gates was talking about a pandemic right before it happened. You know which one I'm talking about. And he's talking about another pandemic and how it's inevitable. A super virus, they say. But anyways, a year ago today, I truly woke up to the, I guess as Andrew Tate would say, not that I'm a fan, he says some reasonable shit sometimes, but the Matrix. I woke up to the Matrix. It's been a very slow and steady journey of awakening, but I feel relatively enlightened. And
no, what I need to know is, all that racist, homophobic talk that you used to be known for, has that changed at all?
Learned a lot of lessons and shit. I'm pretty much, in a lot of ways, a brand new man. But yeah, that stuff is still all the same.
Understanding that the world is fucked, and there's nothing, not a goddamn thing, myself, you, or anyone can do about it. No one can stop what's coming. Nobody. So, I think that's enough chit-chat for now. I'm sure I've already made enough of a fool of myself, and I intend to continue doing so. Unless YouTube deletes the channel and I kill myself.
I don't think he did it.
I'm demonetized, so if you want to support the content, feel free to click on any of the links in the description below. CashApp, Patreon, merch store. Speaking of merch store, hold on. Okay, so this message is for one person and one person only.
And I will single out one in particular.
Destiny. You ordered a women's t-shirt, small, and you ordered... Shit. Sorry about that. But you ordered a beanie as well, and your order was just shipped back to me. It was returned to sender because I fucked up your address, and the place I sent it doesn't exist. And I'm dyslexic, and that's not a joke. I'm on the spectrum, as they say. Is that what they say? I'm probably on the spectrum, though. But anyways, so Destiny. And just to be clear, it's Destiny. Last name starts with the first initial H. Destiny H. Your package is coming. Like tomorrow. I'm shipping it out tomorrow. So yeah, I just had to tell you because I don't like people being mad at me. And I'm sure you've been seeing my videos getting posted and you're like, where's my fucking package? I spent like $60. Where's my shit? Sorry about that. I'm going to sweeten the deal. I'm going to put some bonus goodies in your package. So please don't be mad at me. Okay.
I got a pregnant wife. I'm trying to move out of this shithole.
Those are just excuses, but your package is coming. Anyways, Applejack. Yeah, what's up? You ready?
Thank you to His Excellency.
Hit it!
What you will hear today may evoke shock, fear, and confusion, but it's the truth about our future that each of you deserves to know and deserves a chance to prepare for the alarming events that will happen in the next few years.
Deserves a chance to prepare for the alarming events that will happen in the next few years.
We have come together and organized this forum because we understand that the most frightening crisis humanity has ever faced is threatening us, our families, and our children. At the same time, the global community is still silent and inactive. We're talking about the problem of escalating disasters on Earth.
We want to emphasize to our viewers that our goal is not to prove anything, convince anyone of anything, or scare anyone. Believe us, we've had our fill of all of those alarming headlines that have haunted me, since the beginning of the millennium about newly invented doomsday dates and the apocalypse. We've seen it all on the internet. We're not here for that. We've gathered here to share facts with you, facts about the real threat to all of humanity.
contrary to what some conspiracy theories assume, you don't really need to implant chips in people's brains in order to control them or to manipulate them. For thousands of years, prophets and poets and politicians have used language, storytelling, in order to manipulate and to control people and to reshape society. Now AI is likely to be able to do it. And once it can do that, it doesn't need to send killer robots to shoot us. It can get humans to pull the trigger if it really needs to. AI has just hacked the operating system of human civilization. What we are potentially talking about is nothing less than the end of human history. Now, not the end of history, just the end of the human-dominated part of what we call history.
There is no society anymore. What there is a transnational security elite that is busy carving up the world using your tax money. To combat that elite, we must not petition. We must take it over. We must form our own networks of strength and mutual value, which can challenge those strengths and self-interested values of the warmongers in this country and in others that have formed hand in hand an alliance to take money from the United States, from every NATO country, from Australia, and launder it through Afghanistan, launder it through Iraq, launder it through Somalia, launder it through Yemen, launder it through Pakistan, and wash that money in people's blood.
So when we build the post-COVID world, when we do the Great Reset, one of the most important places to start will be to ensure that the fruits of the fourth industrial revolutions are really shared by all. Artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, cloud computing, advanced robotics, and many others together constitute a new phase in human development, on par or even exceeding previous industrial revolutions in scale and impact. COVID-19, if anything, has accelerated this ongoing industrial revolution. If COVID had happened even 10 years ago, we could not have imagined moving entire companies, schools, and government offices so fast online. Today, that is a reality. The fourth industrial revolution has become a reality. That will prove to be not only the case now, but will be a permanent consequence of COVID-19. It is very important to embrace the fourth industrial revolution and its technology, as it will determine our future prosperity like nothing else. This requires public-private cooperation.
It's a very specific challenge for the legacy brands like the New York Times and like the Wall Street Journal. I mean, interestingly, when there's a big news event, a big world event, people still come to the legacy brands. We still have a lot of trust. But I think you only have to go back. I think we have to maintain that trust, and we have to work at maintaining it in a way that we didn't have to do not so long ago. So if you go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying. So it's no longer good enough for us just to say, this is what happened, or this is the news. We have to explain, almost like explain our working. So readers expect to understand how we source stories. They want to know how we go about getting stories. We have to sort of lift the bonnet, as it were, and in a way that newspapers aren't used to doing, and explain to people what we're doing. We need to be much more transparent about how we go about collecting the news.
We don't even know if the world's going to exist next year.
We're going to be here till at least 2030. They've been propagating 2030 so much. It'd be a shame if we couldn't experience it.
And not if Cargill has something to say about it.
They push 2030 so hard. I want to at least see what the big deal's all about.
I don't think they're going to let any of us see that.
I think they want us to see it because they're the ones that want us to charge us carbon tax. They're going to want us to charge us rent because we're not going to own anything anymore and like it. You know, they're going to want us to experience 2030. What's the whole point of rent without us?
That's how they want it. Like all the Bill Gates out there want to kill us off with these mosquito patties, and then they want to take over the rest of the world.
Well, it just seems like he wants to kill off the most vulnerable to this stuff, which are people, unfortunately, in third world countries. The objective is a lot more sinister than that, but it's not going to be because they want to live by themselves with just 1,000 billionaires. If that was the point, then buying all this real estate with BlackRock is pointless.
Over time,
I mean, do you believe it can be manipulated in Davos, for example, by rich people or...
It can, but it's much, much more difficult than people assume. I think that most conspiracy theories are just wishful thinking. They hope that somebody is in charge, that somebody is running the world. They don't like who is running the world, but they still hope that somebody is in charge. The truth is, in many ways, much worse. Nobody is in charge. Nobody really understands what is happening. Nobody is planning and what is happening in the world. If you want to understand this, take a simple example, I don't know, like the American invasion of Iraq. Now, this was a real conspiracy. You had the strongest superpower in the world, with the most sophisticated army, with the CIA and the FBI and all the money and all the airplanes, invading Iraq with a certain plan in their mind. We'll do this, we'll do that. And nothing went according to plan. Nothing. It was a huge, huge disaster. And in the end, the country that gained the most from the Iraq war was Iran. The Americans destroyed the traditional enemy of Iran and made Iran the hegemonic power in the area. So this is real life. Real life is that when you have powerful people trying to do something and they get it completely wrong. And we know it from our own lives. We make so many plans and they go wrong. So the idea that you can have these few people in a place like Davos, that they know everything and they control everything and they plan pandemics and wars, history just doesn't work like that.
The biggest risk we face is that we lose hope and that we lose trust. Trust into our institutions and particularly trust in our capability to shape a better future.
There is a clear trust deficit globally. There is also a huge geopolitical competition. But even in a fragmented world, we need to collaborate because some of the most pressing challenges are global and they are transboundary. Looking at, for example, then future pandemics, climate change, cyber attacks. We also know, for example, from the war in Gaza now, that we need to collaborate so this doesn't escalate out of control.
One man has stolen at least 13 years of peace, replacing them with pain, and crises that impact the entire world.
For a long time I was on Twitter, and now it's become such a toxic place that I've concluded it's not a worthwhile place to spend time. And as you said, it is exhausting. So you do have to pick and choose, and you have to think about where are the places where you can get your message across. But I am trying to figure out, I mean, I have given up on X, what a scary name that even is, right? And I don't know what the alternative is right now. So
the question of the social media, I must say that I have abandoned Twitter too, so X, because it's a toxic environment, and we talk about, I have no solution on that, but I think one day it will come the moment of the code of conduct in these places, because journalists, if you spread crazy news and insults, and if a journalist says racist things,
it can be amended.
Exactly.
Why social medias that have such big power, we still can, because it's new, but I think there will be a societal reflection on how information is brought there. Of course, on X now there is also the policy of the owner that is problematic. But I think this is a problem of the society of the future.
So I sued them.
This is the end of human history, the end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control. In 5 years, there'll be a technology that can make decisions independently and that can create new ideas independently. Maybe they'll be nice. Maybe they'll solve cancer and climate change, but we are not sure. I'm tending to think of it more in terms of really an alien invasion, an alien fleet of spaceships coming from planet Zircon or whatever, with highly intelligent beings. This is what we are facing, except that the aliens are not coming in spaceships from planet Zircon, they're coming from the laboratory. If the humans are divided among themselves and are in an arms race, then it becomes almost impossible to contain this alien intelligence.
First off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shift your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with. While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that we never before thought possible. After all, what you think, what you feel, it's all just data. Data that in large patterns can be decoded using artificial intelligence. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain. The newest way to monitor attention is through a device like this one. These are ear pods that are launching later this year. These ear pods, much like the video you watched earlier, are ear pods that can pick up brainwave activity and tell whether or not a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering. Okay, well you might think, fine, but even if we can tell whether a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering, you can't tell what they're paying attention to. You would be wrong. It turns out that you can not only tell whether a person is paying attention or their mind is wandering, but you can discriminate between the kinds of things that they're paying attention to. Whether they're doing something like central tasks, like programming, peripheral tasks, like writing documentation, or unrelated tasks, like surfing social media or online browsing. When you combine brainwave activity together with other forms of software and surveillance technology, the power becomes quite precise. We might soon even use the technology to help people wake back up. This is a haptic scarf that MIT Media Lab has developed, which uses brainwave technology in a responsive way to give a person a little buzz, literally, when their mind starts to wander, to help them refocus and hone their attention. I'm giving you the positive use cases because what I don't want the reaction to be is, let's ban this.
Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this next video and try to count how many times you hear the word global. As a matter of fact, if you have some booze, take a shot every time you hear global. All right? Global's the word. It's comical. It's actually...
with a big focus on the economy and also on the role of China in the global economy. Obviously, we all know what a major contribution China has been making to the global economy, to global growth. Post-COVID, a huge focus on recovery globally, but also, of course, for the global recovery, China is of critical importance. We are seeing, according to many analysts, that China will meet its goal of 5% GDP growth for 2023. Now, I mentioned that we have, at least some institutions are predicting a softer growth globally, the World Bank 2.4. We're also seeing uncertainty around trade globally. 2023 was a year when actually the growth of trade was under the growth of GDP. So, and that wasn't the case in prior years where trade was actually, the growth in trade was driving.
Fucking global this, global that. Dude, why are we talking about globalization when people can't even get their own cities in order? When people got half the city sleeping on the streets, shooting up fentanyl, and you're talking about organizing the world? Are you fucking crazy? In other news, it turns out that Elon Musk, the owner and founder of SpaceX and Tesla, is a drug addict. Sort of. His doctor prescribed him ketamine to help with his depression. Yeah, that checks out.
The Wall Street Journal says Elon Musk's drug use is worrying executives and board members at businesses he runs. The Journal cites witnesses saying Musk has used LSD, cocaine, ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, often at private parties. Musk said in August he had a prescription to use ketamine as an antidepressant. Musk didn't respond to requests for comment.
I want to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly? I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies. Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants.
Hello, Bethany speaking.
Hello.
Are you phoning for Bethany?
Yes. What are you doing?
This is Bethany. Can you hear me?
Well, you're right in front of me.
But can you hear me down the phone?
Oh my God.
This is me. On the phone, I had it implanted. My hand is the phone. I can walk and talk because I'm on the phone inside my hand. I am the phone. This is what phones are going to be from now on. I have integrated. Thank you for your call. Subdermal implants. They charge themselves with motion like a self-winding watch. And it's on the 22 network. I get signal across 95% of UK mainland, 98 by next year.
Well, I phoned you, it was ringing. You were ringing.
That's the speaker. So small.
By 2030, the connections will start to be made between artificial intelligence and the human brain. We've been through a process of preparation, of getting people, first of all, stage one, addicted to technology that they hold. And they're targeting specifically the young, because the young of today are going to be the adults when they want to bring this AI connection in full blown. For that to happen, they have to get people addicted to technology to the point where they'll accept it and where it's the most natural thing in the world. So the next stage, because the idea is to get in the body, the next stage is to get on the body. Holdables, we went to wearables, we went to Bluetooth, Google Glass and Apple Watches. And the next stage is to go in the body, which is already starting in places like Sweden. People in Sweden now are having parties to celebrate someone being microchipped. Sales pitch is when we connect to artificial intelligence, we'll be superhuman intelligent. No, you'll become subhuman intelligent. You'll become a vehicle for artificial intelligence, a psychological process, which is known as preemptive programming. You're going to usher in a world that is so different, so dramatically different, resistant, that says, hold on a minute, you want to do what? So you prepare them for it through preemptive programming. You put out a stream of movies out of elite-controlled Hollywood. You put out television programs, you put out books, you put out all these things that basically portray the world you want to take people into. So when you literally start to bring it in, there is almost a familiarity with it because you prepared people by portraying it over and over again. This is a whole psychological process, familiarizing us with artificial intelligence, getting people to interact with it until it becomes the most natural thing in the world. By 2030, the connections will start to be made. Human brain will be connected to what he calls the cloud. Artificial intelligence will be more and more of human thinking until basically it's the totality of human thinking, at which point we won't be human anymore in terms of the consciousness processes we are using today. We will be artificial intelligence.
And now a brief word from today's sponsors. Barry, Joe, take it away.
Vote! Go to iwillvote.com to find out where and how.
Applejack, that's the wrong video, man.
Our democracy depends on you.
It really does, folks. That's no joke.
That's why we need you. We need your help to ensure Joe's leadership continues to guide us forward. We know the other side won't rest, so we can't either. Your donation will help give Joe and Kamala's campaign the resources it needs.
Let's make history again. Chip in now. Let's secure a brighter future together.
So there's been a very clear theme at this year's World Economic Forum meeting for Satanists and child fuckers. What? But the theme is obviously AI, and how AI is going to basically end the world and your jobs. Starting with people in the restaurant industry. How many of you work at a restaurant? Well, by this time next year, you won't be. Let's see exactly how your jobs are going to be replaced. Applejack, that's, yeah, show the news clip.
News Nation's Nancy Liu is live for us tonight from the world's first restaurant run by robots. Nancy, how's the food?
The food is very good, Elizabeth. But look, the robots, the machines, they are here and ready to serve. And this new restaurant demonstrates why much of the service workforce could soon become obsolete. We're inside Cali Express by Flippy in Pasadena, which doesn't open to the public for a few weeks, but when it does, you're only going to see 1 or 2 people working here, since this is the world's first restaurant powered by AI. That is the sizzle of a Wagyu beef patty, freshly ground to order by a robot, which kicks into action as soon as orders are placed.
This patty was ground just 2 minutes ago. So as you order, and as it's inputted into the system, it starts to grind.
While ordering at a kiosk is now fairly commonplace, here, guests can also use Pop ID, a new payment system based on facial recognition. Then watch as robots take over, and they are very fast line cooks.
It can cook, you know, really hundreds an hour. And they're perfectly cooked, and they come out, and you know, because of the savings and the cost, the restaurant's actually able to offer a better quality of product.
As you might expect, it's a very limited menu, but special requests can be accommodated since the system does require a human assist to do the final prep. But with machines doing everything else, the overall operating costs are lower.
For every dollar that an individual spends at a restaurant, roughly about a third of that goes directly to cover labor costs.
According to the National Restaurant Association, 2/3 of restaurants don't have enough workers to meet demand, and it's estimated over 80% of restaurant jobs can be filled with robots. The Flippy machine can be leased for about $4,000 a month. That includes maintenance and no downtime. In California, the fast food minimum wage is $20 an hour.
I think once you see how much better the economics for a restaurant like this looks like, I think it'll be, you know, it'll be disruptive to the existing model, and it should be something that should be easily scaled.
Now, surveys have shown that consumers want human interaction and hospitality, so the trend is leaning toward more AI robots and food production in the back, with a customer service focus out front. And Elizabeth, with AI, there's machine learning, and that means in the long run, everyone gets fresher food, and there's far less food waste. And I can tell you that, I mean, it's very, very tasty, Elizabeth. I've eaten a lot of cheeseburgers for research.
For research. Okay, gotcha, Nancy.
Yes.
I think I need to research it a little bit. Yeah. Hey, if it's all robots.
But it's Wagyu beef.
Yeah, well, that's the best kind. Do you have to tip the robots?
No, you don't have to tip the robots, but you can tip Hannah. She's the one who works here. And so it's personal preference, but know that your money is going directly to the employee. It is not split between 20 other employees because she's the only one working here.
Amazing. Nancy Liu, I never thought I'd see it.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
So it's looking like AI will in fact take over our jobs. Not to sound the alarm bells, but the World Economic Forum published their 2023 Future of Jobs report. And they're thinking that 1 in 4 jobs is going to change over the next 5 years because of AI and other technology developments. Now, before you panic, most of the jobs that will get affected are going to be very clerical jobs like record keeping, data analysts, postal service clerks, cashiers, administration, that kind of thing. And there's actually predicted to be a significant growth in jobs around big data analytics and climate change technology. Now, what I find interesting is that in the 2020 version of this report, the World Economic Forum actually predicted that human jobs would be replaced by automation at a faster rate than what we've seen as of 2023. So it's supposed to happen. We don't entirely know how quickly it's going to happen, but what is interesting is that AI technologies like ChatGPT that now can replicate human reasoning and problem solving are probably going to accelerate that rate of replacement. What is freaky is that this report predicts an overall net job loss of 14 million jobs. So there's going to be a lot of jobs that grow that will be offset by jobs that are lost. Of the roles expected to grow, we're looking at AI and ML engineers, information security analysts, and business intelligence analysts as the top 3 areas. Lastly, this report highlighted the top skills that are in demand in 2023 and expected to grow. And they're coming in hot at analytical skills and creativity skills. And that's followed by resilience, flexibility, curiosity, motivation, lifelong learning, problem solving. And now it doesn't surprise me. All of these skills point to the need for employees to adapt to workplaces that are more automated by AI. Like, these are the human-powered skills that AI can't replicate. So it's going to be the employees that are able to add business value through creative thinking, complex problem solving in an ecosystem that is supported by AI that are going to be the ones that are successful and in those in-demand jobs.
And all you need in order to systematically hack millions of people is just the data. Mm-hmm. That to hack people means to know people better than they know themselves. Right. We are already beginning to see the emergence of such total surveillance regimes in places like Xinjiang, in places like in my own home country in Israel. We have this big laboratory of surveillance called the occupied territories, where you have 2.5 million guinea pigs of how to completely survey and control a population.
Good morning, President Herzog. It's an honor to welcome you, not the first time, in Davos at a very critical time for Israel and across the Middle East. Mr. President, the atrocities by Hamas on October 7th shook the world to the core.
That we will see something that has hit the Jewish people and the state of Israel in the highest numbers of Jews being killed since the Holocaust. And these are the facts, meaning we have seen atrocities, barbarism, sadism, rape, chopping of heads, burning of families. In one of the houses that was burned, there are barbed wires around a whole block of ash. This is a 5-people family. And most of all the hostages. This is Kfir Bibas. Kfir today is celebrating 1 year to his birth. Exactly a year ago, he was born to his parents, Shiri, his mother, and his father, Yarden, and his brother, Ariel. And Kfir, his whereabouts are unknown. We know he was kidnapped by Hamas. We know that these barbaric terrorists have taken him.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Today I'm here to tell you that the Western world is in danger. And it is endangered because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty. Unfortunately, in recent decades, motivated by some well-meaning individuals willing to help others, and others motivated by the wish to belong to a privileged caste, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism. We're here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause. Do believe me, no one better placed than us, Argentines, to testify to these.
Dear World Economic Forum, how are you? I know you're probably busy planning for next year's multi-million-dollar elite gathering, where you fly private jets that emit as much CO2 in a week as 350,000 cars, so you can all sit around in expensive suit jackets with slacks of various colors to tackle your self-proclaimed goal of tackling the dire ongoing crisis of climate change and inequality by lecturing the rest of us on how it's our fault. So we need to eat the bugs and be happy with owning nothing. You're probably still assimilating all of this year's hard work on improving the world state, or I mean state of the world, through public-private cooperation by shaping global, regional, and industry agendas, just like the ones that no one else ever voted for forever. You know, it sure must be cold up there in the Swiss mountains in the winter, but hey, at least you'll never have to worry about potential hypothermia. Seeing as how 5 straight days of scheduled hourly ass-kissing sure works up a lot of body heat. Oh, not to mention you have all that extra CO2 you've produced misusing the phrase, think outside the box, which you could forgive us all for assuming is probably more than all 7+ billion of the rest of us combined ever could, even if we tried. I sure hope you bring that one guy back so he can talk more about how we are one of the last generations of human beings on Earth because you plan to engineer bodies and brains and minds and use all that data you've hoarded to become the future masters of the planet.
Like, people didn't know about the World Economic Forum 6-7 years ago. At least most people didn't. They didn't hear about it. They didn't hear about Klaus Schwab and, you know, you will own nothing and you will be happy. When you hear him say stuff like that and hear them talk about young global leaders, you're like, what is happening here? Like, you seem like a bad guy in a science fiction movie.
People assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again in how we are used to normal, in the old fashion. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen. I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Like, he wears that crazy outfit that I show you, the picture we have in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, could you be any more obvious that you're fucking insane? Like, you're an insane, megalomaniacal dictator type character who wants to run the world, and you're literally dressing like a Star Wars character.
Yeah, there's got to be some weird sexual fetishism thing going on there.
Pull that
too.
picture up, Jamie. You know that nutty picture. That picture is so wild. Every time I go to take a leak, I look at that picture. That's why it's there. Because I'm like, what kind of freak shit is that guy into when no one's around? Because if you're dressing like that publicly and you're telling people they're going to eat bugs and that you're going to own nothing and everyone and then when people catch you on it, you go, those are conspiracy theories. We have nothing to say to those things. Like, look at that fucking outfit. He looks like a space druid.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that he chose to leave his house dressed like that, like, yes, I will adjust the peons. All the public needs to know that we are in control. Look at this guy, like that weird star on the right one and whatever the fuck it says on the left one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on his vest, like, what is that thing on his vest? Is that the same thing? What is that symbol?
It looks like a sun.
Right, but what does it stand for?
I could look that up.
Fucking
also a goat with a cross.
Oh, a fucking goat with a cross in its head.
It's a bull, I think.
Whatever it is, a bull. Jesus Christ, you fucking psychos.
Science, ingenuity, truth, I think is what that says.
I almost wish that I didn't have this podcast and I could just go and hang out with those people.
But doesn't that look like the outfit?
That's
Oh, wow, look at that one.
I don't think that's him.
No. Well, how about The Great Reset? He wrote a book called The Great Reset.
I don't know how it will play out in November, but what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed and particularly also people in the gray economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action to create a fairer world.
And then they denied that the Great Reset is the thing they're working towards. Like, bro, you wrote a book.
Right, yeah.
You wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's called The Great Reset. This is not like the fucking, like the Steele dossier. Like, Trump didn't write a book called The Steele dossier and say, I never peed on anybody. Like, this is what you're doing.
Right. Or isn't New World Order another term that they...
Yes.
Right, you see it on the background of, some of their events, but...
And we are just now where we move into the exponential phase. And I agree. Artificial intelligence, but not only artificial intelligence, but also the metaverse, near space technologies, and I could go on and on, synthetic biology. Our life in 10 years from now will be completely different, very much affected, and who masters those technologies in some way will be the master of the world.
How do they have influence, though? Like, other than, like, are they just financing politicians? And so they have this meeting where they get together and they say, oh, this is what we want you to do. And it's just understood that if you follow those people and you do that, you'll have some sort of a career, like almost like a workshopping thing, like a conference for people to get together that are fucking aluminum siding salesmen, and like they find out what's the new tech and what's the latest stuff and sales techniques.
I assume it just works the same way that think tanks work in the United States, right? Like if you...
I would like to express my high respect to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum for having taken the initiative for creating such an important global platform for governments shaping the future. I also want to congratulate Dubai for having organized such a successful World Expo despite all the repercussions of the global pandemic. Last November, in partnership with His Excellency Mohammed Al-Gargawi, we brought together 60 top intellectual thinkers here in Dubai. Thank you to His Excellency for enabling this initiative to define a longer-term narrative to make the world more resilient, more inclusive, and more sustainable. With all the current issues on our agenda, we tend to forget that we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, which accelerates global change in much more comprehensive and faster ways than the previous three revolutions. I'm proud that the government of Dubai has been so foresighted in establishing a Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in cooperation with the World Economic Forum. The objective is to quickly recognize the potential of new technologies, as well as develop the necessary ethical and political frameworks around those new technologies to ensure that those technologies are human-centered and society-oriented. The world has to overcome not only the damage done to our economies and our societies by COVID-19, it also has to confront the repercussions of a dangerous clash between major global powers. History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever. What is also needed is a summit like this one to go beyond crisis management and to look into constructive ways we can build our common future. Our futures are intrinsically connected to one another, as the profound challenges to mankind, such as climate change, are globally interconnected and require collaborative responses. In conclusion, and despite all the challenges, we have to uphold our responsibility, which we have towards the next generation, and which we can only fulfill through collaboration on a national and on a global level. I wish you an impactful and successful meeting.
If you,
here it goes. It was founded on the 24th of January 1971 by German engineer and economist Klaus Schwab. Jesus, he founded that in 71? The foundation, which is mostly funded by its 1,000 member companies, typically global enterprises with more than $5 billion US in turnover, as well as public subsidies. I'd like to find out what those subsidies are. Views its own mission as improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. Boy, does that sound gross.
Yeah.
The WEF is mostly known for its annual meetings at the end of January in Davos, a mountain resort in the eastern Alps of Switzerland. The meeting brings together some 3,000 paying members and selected participants, among whom are investors, business leaders, political leaders, economists, celebrities, and journalists, up to 5 days to discuss global issues. Because the Great Reset has always been this gigantic conspiracy theory among the online folks. Like, this is all part of the Great Reset. Well, when he wrote a fucking book called The Great Reset, you're like, hey, man, shouldn't you be hiding this?
And in 2017 at Harvard, he's saying, you know, we're going to basically, all of these world leaders will penetrate their cabinets with our young global leaders. He's open about this. He's open.
Names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin. And what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. In addition to the young global leaders, we have now the global shapers in 450 cities around the world.
People have to realize this, right? This is important.
Yeah.
A question about some of the technology that you're developing to fight the war on terror, specifically directed energy and high-powered microwave technology. Do you, when do you envision that you can weaponize that type of technology?
Goodness. It is in, for the most part, the kinds of things you're talking about are in varying early stages. Do you have anything you'd add?
I don't think I would add much.
I think they are in early stages and probably not ready for employment at this point.
In the normal order of things, when you invest in research and development and begin a developmental project, you don't have any intention or expectations that one would use it. On the other hand, the real world intervenes from time to time, and you reach in there and take something out that is still in a developmental stage, and you might use it. So your question's not answerable. It depends on what happens in the future and how well things move along the track, and whether or not someone feels it's appropriate to reach into a development stage and see if something might be useful, as was the case with the unmanned aerial vehicles.
But you sound like you're willing to experiment with it.
I think that's the point, and I think, and we have, I think, from the beginning of this conflict, I think General Franks has been very open to looking at new things if there are new things available, and has been willing to put them into the fight even before they've been fully wrung out. And I think that's not referring to these two particular cases of directed energy or high-powered microwave, but sure. And
yes,
we will continue to do that.
You've received death threats, your career has been stalled. Who are these people?
Well, it's a question that I ask myself and my family in our discussions ask. What's their point? Why are they trying to destroy me? All I'm trying to do is get the truth out there and get some evidence out there. And I have to come to the conclusion that I'm threatening their power, I'm threatening their funding and their money.
There's the list. Here it is with these three people. Go out and prove it wrong.
Meanwhile, Jesse Ventura's orders have sent Alex Piper to MIT to meet a world-renowned physicist. Jesse wants to know if the doctor in hiding has real reason to be afraid.
I personally think that global warming will turn out to be a disgrace to the scientific community and the environmental movement.
Dr. Richard Linson says it's true. A scientist who speaks out against global warming can expect trouble.
You have the environmental movement with this flagship. You have carbon trading, which is a multi-trillion-dollar business. You have the science funding. By now, it's estimated the U.S. alone has spent something on the order of $70 billion on research. The last thing in the world anyone would want to do is solve the problem.
All are worthy. You can say that again.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
Can I pay, miss?
Oh, no, thank you. I have to watch my figure.
So, do the Masonic symbols, as explained by the Lodge, conflict with the teachings of the Bible? Well, in order to answer that question, we have asked that a former worshipful master of the Lodge, Mr. Jack Harris, would come tonight and reenact part of the actual ritual of the first 3 degrees of Masonry and explain to you exactly what he taught to more than 600 men in his lodge concerning God, the Bible, man's nature, and eternal life. Please listen.
As a former worshipful master of Masonic Lodge, it was my duty to instruct a candidate in many of the teachings of Freemasonry. One of the most important was an explanation of the letter G, which you find suspended above my chair in the east. Let me tell you exactly what that means to Freemasonry, as explained to the candidate. First of all, it alludes to the fifth science, geometry. Geometry, according to Freemasonry, delineates how God created the heavens and the earth in its various shapes and forms. But the most important meaning is, as I'm going to give it to you at this point. The master removes his hat and tells the candidate, it alludes to the sacred name of deity, before whom all, from the youngest entered apprentice in the northeast corner, to the worshipful master who presides in the east, should with reverence most humbly bow. As a child of God, I accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior several years ago. And I had a great deal of difficulty with Freemasonry's definition of God, because all through the rituals, as well as this explanation, they call God deity, or Grand Architect of the Universe, or Great Architect of the Universe. They don't give him any specific name we as Christians know. You see, in Freemasonry, they can accept the deity of the Muslim, the Hindu, the Buddhist, whatever the religion or whatever the savior of any religion of the world, Freemasonry will accept them. But they do not name what those deities are, so they call him deity.
But as a born-again Christian, I have a problem with this. In Isaiah, the 44th chapter, the 6th verse, the Lord says this, "Thus says the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, I am the first, and I am the last, and beside me there is no God." Also, as Christians in Colossians, the 2nd chapter, the 9th verse, we are told that in him, referring to the person of Jesus Christ, all the deity is in bodily form. So as born-again Christians, we see the person of God revealed into the person of Jesus Christ as our Savior and Lord. He has a name, the Lord Jesus Christ. He is not referred to in any of our churches or scriptures as just the name of deity. This does present a tremendous problem to me as a child of God. In conclusion, I find that the teachings of Freemasonry lead to a universal religion. The religion that Freemasonry teaches accepts saviors of all religions in the world, none being exclusive. But as a born-again Christian, I am told in John 14:6 by Jesus himself, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father except by me." So thereby, as a child of God, and to be obedient to the Word of God, I must separate myself from the false teachings and the many false saviors that Masonry presents in all of their teachings.
Pieces of the monument. The overall height is 19 feet 3 inches from the surface of the ground to the top of the capstone.
Thank you. Congratulations.
There are slots and holes in the center stone that have astrological significance because they have been cut at precise angles to permit accurate readings of the sun and moon at various times of the year.
Standing on the highest point of Elbert County, the Georgia guide stones have raised a lot of questions. 4 upright stones more than 16 feet high, with support stones totaling almost 238,000 pounds. And there's a message sandblasted in 12 languages in letters 2 inches tall. The sponsors of the mysterious project are said to be an anonymous group of out-of-state Americans promoting the concept of the conservation of mankind. Here's the mystery, though. Elberton granite businessman Joe Findlay was contacted to build the project by a man using the fictitious name of R.C. Christian. Granite City Bank President Wyatt Martin served as intermediary, handled the escrow account for all funds, and says he'll carry the secret of who R.C. Christian is to his grave.
The mere fact that it is a mystery as to the identity of the people will lead others to come and look at the stones and wonder who put those stones there.
Consider the UN flag. The map is divided into 33 sectors. The Earth is flanked by 2 olive branches. Each of these branches contains 13 leaves. The UN flag is cyan in color and was created after the UN was chartered in 1945. In 1947, the UN decided to partition Palestine into a Jewish state, an Arab state, and a UN-administered Jerusalem. This decision led to a series of wars, and ultimately Israel's independence in 1948. The coat of arms of Israel is also cyan in color. The menorah is flanked by 2 13-leafed olive branches, another parallel with the UN flag. There are many countries whose flags and coats of arms feature olive branches. However, only the UN emblem and the coats of arms of Israel and the United States feature olive branches having exactly 13 leaves.
This scenario is borne out by none other than Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, one of the great founders of Israel. Recorded in an astonishing article in Look magazine, Ben-Gurion predicted that a one-world system presided over by Jerusalem will be set up in the near future. All continents will become united in a world alliance, at whose disposal will be an international police force. All armies will be abolished, and there will be no more war. In Jerusalem, the United Nations, a truly united nations, will build a shrine of the prophets to serve the federated union of all continents. This will be the seat of the Supreme Court of mankind, to settle all controversies among the federated continents as prophesied by Isaiah.
We're being controlled by some very, very smart manipulators who understand how to make us do their bidding, even though we may not want to. You don't have a choice. That disappeared a long time ago. There's not a nickel's worth of difference between the Democratic and Republican Party, and hasn't been for an awful long time. And it doesn't matter which one is in the White House, we still go toward the New World Order, don't we? We still go more and more into socialism, don't we? But if they were truly different, that wouldn't happen, would it? A scale measures two extremes. On the far left, you have total control of everything and everyone, and, by the way, ownership of everything and everyone by the state, which is more important than anything. It's called communism. On the right, all the way at the extreme, you have the total absence and lack of any and all control by anybody over anything or anyone. That's called anarchy. Anarchy sucks. Communism sucks. A constitutional republic is somewhere in the middle of these two extremes and provides safeguards to protect individual freedoms and creator-endowed liberty. It would amaze you to know how many supposed patriot leaders that are really not patriot leaders at all, but are functioning in the Hegelian dialectic to move you in the wrong direction, or to pit you against each other, or to just find out who in the hell you are. You cannot believe anyone anymore. This is the age of deception. This is the age of deception. Who's the great deceiver? Freedom. If that isn't the most important thing in your life, you're not going to do a thing to help us save this country. And that is the cold, hard truth, whether we like it or not.
In America's 60 Families, Ferdinand Lundberg wrote,
"The United States is owned and dominated by a hierarchy of its 60 richest families, functioning discreetly in a de jure democratic form of government, behind which a de facto government, absolutist and plutocratic, has gradually taken form. This de facto government is actually the government of the United States, informal, invisible, shadowy."
Among the 60 families Lundberg named were the Rockefellers, Morgans, Mellons, Vanderbilts, DuPonts, Astors, and Warburgs. Through inherited fortunes, they remained entrenched in power from one generation to the next. These families frequently acted in concert to pre-select presidential candidates of both Republican and Democratic parties, and, as Lundberg documented, acquired sweeping ownership of America's major newspapers. This power structure has been called the establishment. Syndicated columnist Edith Kermit Roosevelt, granddaughter of President Theodore Roosevelt, described it.
Establishment is a general term for the power elite in international finance, business, and government, who wield most of the power regardless of who is in the White House. Most people are unaware of the existence of this legitimate mafia, yet the power of the establishment makes itself felt from the professor who seeks a foundation grant to the candidate for a cabinet post or State Department job. It affects the nation's policies in almost every area.
In America, in principle, power is supposed to belong to the people. Voting sustains the public perception that it retains power. However, the establishment has ways of getting around our electoral system. In 1976, Jimmy Carter was elected president. 7 months before the Democratic Convention, the Gallup poll reported less than 4% of registered Democrats favored Carter for president. Outside Georgia, where he was governor, few people knew who he was. What happened?
There's a new mood in America.
It began with dinner at the Tarrytown, New York estate of David Rockefeller. Present was Zbigniew Brzezinski, who helped Rockefeller found the Internationalist Trilateral Commission, and whom Carter would later appoint National Security Advisor. Senator Barry Goldwater said of this meeting,
David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski found Jimmy Carter to be their ideal candidate. They helped him win the nomination and the presidency. To accomplish this purpose, they mobilized the money power of the Wall Street bankers and the media controllers.
At Laurentian University in Ontario, Canada, a young student is about to undergo one of the strangest experiences of her life. They're hooking Denise's brain up to an electroencephalograph, or EEG machine. For 30 to 40 minutes, this will monitor her brain waves, while these electric coils attached on either side of her head will immerse her brain in an electromagnetic field. Her brain actually completes the circuit between the two coils. The field pulsing through her brain is less powerful than one given off by a digital clock radio, but acutely controlled and focused at specific parts of the brain, it will open Denise's mind to outside suggestion by this man. Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
Many experts are skeptical of such an Orwellian scenario, but Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then, over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind? Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon. The promise of truly bloodless war may come only with the most devastating weapon of all. If the human mind and will become the battleground of the future, war may be won without so much as a whimper, let alone a bang.
And that is the ultimate goal of psychological operations. We're able to basically win a contingency, I wouldn't call it a war, without firing a shot.
The ultimate weapon in the info war would be so secret, so invisible, so undetectable, you would never know your mind was under attack.
Or the 25th at midnight, there is a ceremony that's specifically for children, and it's called the last bulb on the tree.
Where does that come from?
That is something that's used with children. It's part of programming them into the whole thing. And there were things that would happen to the child that hung the last bulb on the tree on Christmas Eve, as it was a common practice to decorate the tree on Christmas Eve, and the tree in itself is a phallic symbol, and it's paganistic. Christmas is based on pagan day, and back to Roman times, and Christians have given it. They think they have given it Christian meaning, and it means something else, and it does not. But there is the case with the last bulb on the tree that has something to do with what happened to this little girl, JonBenet.
JonBenet Ramsey?
Yes, JonBenet Ramsey. And this occurred on this night because of the day it has to do with, and the ceremony.
Yes, this information may be shocking to many people, and many will say, "What is he talking about?" But I will answer the following. I'm telling the truth, and the verity about what existed and still exists, although soon it won't exist anymore, at least on this planet. Everything I'm saying, every word of mine, is confirmed by irrefutable evidence that you, as humanity, have accumulated in sufficient amounts to pass a sentence on yourselves. I will set aside myths and legends and focus only on specific facts that your history is full of. The facts which cannot be explained metaphorically, philosophically, or in some ambiguous way. These are the bodies of children, the burials of their remains at the sites of ritual sacrifices. How many of your children were burnt in fire allegedly as a sacrifice to the god Moloch or Baal? That was a very common practice among all the Chaldean tribes, passing through fire. That's what they called it in the Torah. Everyone has heard it, and you all know this story from ancient images, when a baby was placed in the hands of a huge statue of a horned deity, from where it rolled into the fire. After such burnings, children's ashes and remains were placed in special vessels and buried in the ground on so-called tofets. Those were entire fields of burial urns with the ashes of murdered children. You definitely know at least one site of this kind from the Bible. It's the Valley of Hinnom, which later became a prototype of the fiery hell. The largest of the discovered fields of this kind was in Carthage, where the remains of about 20,000 children were unearthed, and most of them were infants up to 6 months old. Can you imagine the scale? This is just one region, and this is only what was found. 20,000 burnt children. Do you really believe that someone would just throw away such a huge amount of the most valuable substance? After all, to burn is the same as to throw away. No, they weren't just burnt.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this video. Today's. All right, so that's going to wrap up today's. Fuck. All right, so that's going to. Fucking goddamn it. All right, so that's going to wrap up today's episode of New World Order. Ugh. Oh shit. I'm not a spring chicken, okay? I can't move like I used to. Thank you for watching. It's been a lot of fun. Until we meet again. Don't forget to pull out. That's POOL. And as always, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell. And until we meet again, stay Darth. I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to show you.
Oh. What are you doing?
What? I'm going to put it on the internet. But as I was saying, I make her put on the Beats headphones so she doesn't hear me, you know, being weird and shit. But by the way, YouTube, get fucked. You know, a lot of motherfuckers been saying, shit, DarthNews, that motherfucker fell off, man. After that Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, Netflix money dried up, that motherfucker. But people, seriously, they're like, yo, dude, DarthNews he's dumb. He's a loser. He sucks dick frequently. And by the way, it's not by choice. I have to do that because I'm demonetized and I've got a kid on the way, so I have to suck someone's dick. The point is, people been saying DarthNews has fucked up his whole life. I feel bad for whoever he knocked up. You know. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Be something better. Be a trans person. Because at least that'll get you attention. And people will care about you more. Then you can correct everybody when they misgender you and then tell them how bigoted they are. And, you know, that's a plus. So try being more like a trans person. Don't be like Darth.
All the little images that we've taken on from the mass mind-controlling media, that we compare ourselves with models 10s when we perceive ourselves to be 2s and 3s. And from that, we have a distorted image of ourselves. And from that, a block happens. We no longer love ourselves. Our hearts, the energy from our hearts, literally degenerate. We become a shell of the person, the spirit-filled, loving, capable, worthy human being that we were intended to be. That's how the manipulation and control has happened. We have a choice about that. We can say, yes, indeed, now based on this evidence, that yes, that's part of nature, part of God's plan. But if you think about it, your own life, you never grew, you never learned the easy way, did you? You always learned primarily by pain or trauma. Lessons learned the hard way, the streets of hard knocks. That's what gave us the best lessons, the most enduring choice-making lessons. That's what we're talking about here. The question is, are we fed up enough with self-loathing? Are we fed up enough of being manipulated, mind-controlled into ignorance, dissonance, division, dividing men from women, black from white, gay from straight, Jew from Gentile, Christian from Muslim, right to left, Democrat from Republican? That's the name of the dissonant game. Divide and conquer. This whole concept of love, the universal healer. More and more of us play music in the key of love. It's like a pebble in a pond. You throw a pebble in a pond and the waves flow out in circle array to the farthest shores. The universe is made of water. Not only does the Bible say that, but NASA science proved that about 10 years ago when they discovered water throughout space. That means when you play 528 or sing, even better, in 528, that energy flows virtually universally, certainly across the planet, affecting as a miracle frequency the hearts of humanity, so that the heart chakras are open and beginning to spin. And as we spin this in terms of the eliminating the dissonance and regenerating the harmony.
And I appreciate the World Economic Forum providing me the opportunity to be on this stage and say, fuck you, Klaus Schwab, and fuck your New World Order. We, the people, were born free, we will stay free, and you and all of your globalist friends, including everyone in this room, can go fuck yourself. So yesterday, I stood on this stage and said some things that I should not have said. But we all deserve a second chance. So I would like to apologize to absolutely no one. None of you were elected to show us how we should live our lives. All of you motherfuckers took your private jets to show up to this meeting, so don't lecture us about the environment. I ain't eating bugs, you can eat these nuts, and once again, you and your fake climate agenda can go fuck.
Maybe I have an attitude and I have a lot more edge to myself than a lot of other artists out there do. And media sees that and takes that and calls it punk. Because what punk is punk is a little delinquent. Punk is so much that, you know, right now, at this moment, I'm not going to get into, but I'm not a punk rocker. I don't have punk music. Maybe I have some punk characteristics about me. Did I say that properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I have some punk characteristics about me. But I don't walk around calling myself punk. It's more punk to tell people you're not punk than to sit there and say that you are punk. And whatever. If you want to know what I think that I am, I think that I'm just a rock chick. And I like to rock out. I like to throw shit around. I like to go nuts. I like to lose myself on stage. I like to scream. I like to holler. I like to break things. I like to yell. I like to get my anger out, and you know what? everyone has their own opinion on everybody. But I'm not the one who went out there and called myself punk and skater, and so many people look at that and read that and think, oh my god, she's so fake. And I totally understand why. Because if I saw Avril Lavigne's face everywhere and skater punk everywhere, I'd be like, she's so fake. She can't even skateboard. She's not punk. What are they talking about? I totally think that. So I understand where everybody comes from. But what everybody needs to understand is that's not me who did that. And that's why I'm going to sit here and ramble on, because I need people to understand that. I'm going to have people through this DVD get to know who I really am and how messed up this business is.
Let me educate you on something called the Holocaust, okay? 81 years ago, a man named Adolf Hitler had a terrible plan because he was filled with hate and jealousy, and he jerked us off and put us on a train. Okay, listen, okay, I'm a Jew, okay? I'm a Jew. I know about suffering, okay? I know about suffering. One time my plastic surgeon wouldn't give me a dick. Like, and I was like, oh,